Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're diving into something almost every single one of us deals with, yet honestly, very few people truly understand. We are going to completely transform how you view that incredibly busy, sometimes totally exhausting mind of yours. If you've ever felt trapped in your own head, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get right into it.
So, is your brain just not in your control? You know that feeling, right? You sit down craving just one single moment of peace, only to feel completely paralyzed by these unwanted, repetitive thoughts. You try to push them away, but they just keep rushing back in like a flood. It's a universal struggle. We often feel like we're literally hostages to our own minds, completely at the mercy of whatever worry decides to pop up next. But what if I told you that this so-called problem is actually a sign of something working perfectly?
Now, what's really interesting about this is that it completely flips the script on mental health. If your brain is overthinking, it doesn't mean it's broken. Actually, it means your factory's machinery is in excellent condition and production is running at absolute maximum capacity. Your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do: create and process. The problem isn't the machine itself. The problem is that this highly productive factory simply lacks the right direction. Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to look at overthinking as a mind factory, the trap of old patterns, why healing absolutely requires discipline, the amazing impact of nature and our senses, and finally, how breaking your routine is the key to lasting change.
Section 1. Overthinking, a factory of the mind. Let's build on that factory metaphor for a second. Every human brain thinks, that is its primary function, right? But the quality of the product depends entirely on the raw materials. Are you supplying your brain with useless worries or guided purpose? If you sit idle, obsessing over non-existent future events, your highly efficient brain takes that garbage and processes it straight into anxiety and stress. You are the factory manager here. You decide exactly what goes on that conveyor belt. Moving on to Section 2, the trap of old patterns. And this brilliantly illustrates why it's so incredibly hard to just stop. If we know we're feeding the machine bad materials, why do our attempts to heal fade away so quickly? We get motivated, maybe we try a new meditation routine, and we experience a few days of wonderful temporary relief. But then, we snap right back to the exact same wrong track. Human nature instinctively resists difficult, conscious choices. It is so much easier to just let the familiar, even if it's unhealthy, pattern keep running. We default to what is easy, not what actually heals us. Imagine going to a doctor for a heart condition. They hand you some medicine, but you walk out and wash it down with a giant soda and a burger. That medicine is going to have absolutely no impact. The exact same rule applies to your mind. Healing, or therapy, without parhez, which means prevention, real lifestyle changes, and mental discipline, will fail for sure. You simply cannot out-heal a toxic mental diet. Which brings us to Section 3, healing and discipline, and the absolute necessity of parhez. So the crucial point is this. Lasting peace isn't just up to a therapist or a spiritual guide. It falls directly on your everyday habits. Think about a tiny 4% sliver of your day. That's about 1 hour of therapy or meditation. If you spend the other 23 hours, a whopping 96% of your time, living in damaging emotional habits, stressing out, and feeding your factory pure garbage, well, that 1 hour of healing is completely destroyed. You're basically tearing down the house the second you finish building it. Healing might be the guide's responsibility, but receiving it properly, that is 100% yours. This is exactly why detox centers and wellness retreats are so remarkably effective. When you go to a retreat, they don't just give you an hour of meditation and send you on your way. They strictly control your entire daily routine. They manage your eating habits, your sleep schedule, and your discipline from morning to night. They enforce the parhez that we all struggle so hard to enforce at home. All right, Section 4. Nature, and the impact of sensory rewiring. Let's move to and see how this builds into real actionable change. How do professionals actually hit that reset button on your mind? Well, they use a psychological framework known as VAK, visual, audio, and kinesthetic. This is simply the sensory framework of what we see, what we hear, and what we physically feel or do. When you're stuck in a loop of overthinking, your current sensory environment is actually triggering those old patterns. Changing what you look at, what you listen to, and what you physically do is the foundational step to releasing all that built-up mental tension. Nature is literally the ultimate healer because it automatically provides the perfect VAK reset without you even having to try. Visually, it replaces those stressful concrete jungles with soothing beauty and wide-open spaces. Aurally, the chaotic city noise is swapped for silence and natural sounds, which actually gives you space to hear your own voice again. And kinesthetically, nature invites movement. Walking, breathing deeply, it pulls you completely out of your normal, rigid comfort zone. Nature literally rewires your senses from the outside in. And finally, Section 5, breaking the routine to create lasting change. If you want to fix your regular overthinking, you have to become deliberately and intentionally irregular. Take a 9-day meditation retreat as an example. When you first break your routine, it is not instantly peaceful. No way. Your brain fights back hard. On days 1 and 2, you feel homesick, you crave your old, toxic routine just because it's familiar. Day 3 is all about just enduring that friction. But by day 4, this amazing shift happens. The brain surrenders. It accepts the new, peaceful habit, and you successfully detach from that old, exhausting pattern. But hey, you don't necessarily need a massive 9-day retreat to achieve this release, or what's known as recentering. Just sit by flowing water, feel the natural wind on your face, step away from concrete buildings for an afternoon, radically break your daily routine. Wind and water are powerful natural elements that symbolically and physically help flush that internal garbage right out of your mental factory. Simply changing your physical environment disrupts the entire overthinking cycle. I want to leave you with this incredibly powerful thought from our source material. Bondage makes a human violent. Freedom makes them divine. When you're confined to the exact same routine, staring at the exact same walls, and thinking the exact same thoughts day after day, your mind becomes agitated and restless. Freedom, stepping out into nature, breaking your patterns, and forcing your mental parhays is what elevates you. So the big question for you is, which bond, which self-imposed routine are you going to break today? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep breaking those routines, and I'll catch you next time.